Welcome back to Generative Art on the Blockchain. Today we are going to be combining React with P5js to host your blockchain art on your own website. At the end of today's lesson, you're going to be able to have a web domain that you can share on your portfolio, you can share it on Twitter, you can share it kind of anywhere you want to be able to show other people the art that you are putting on the blockchain. There are 5 steps we're going to be going through today to host your blockchain art on your own personalized website. Entirely free. It's not going to cost you any money. First, we're going to use Create React App. If you've never used Create React App, we'll get into it. Let me just talk about the 5 steps. First, create React App. Then we're going to create a GitHub repository. Then we will use Firebase to deploy our hosting. After that, we're going to mint our NFT. And finally, we're going to add our minted NFTs IPFS URL, as well as the transaction data from Polygon onto the web page so that people can see the actual art on the blockchain. Let's get started. So again, we're going to get started with Create React App. If you've never used Create React App before, you can just look it up to learn more about it. It's kind of outside the scope of this course to go into it too much, so to get started, I'm just going to run npx create react app, and I'm going to call it P5 with React. It's something I just deleted, so I'm going to create it again. So what this is doing is it's creating our entire React website server. All the code that we need is being created right now so that we can get up and running very quickly without having to start from scratch. While it is loading, I'm going to go ahead and find one of the libraries we're going to want to import. The library is P5 with React npm, I think. Yeah, I think it's React P5. I think that's the library we're using. This looks correct, so I'm going to keep this open just so that we're ready. It's really nice to be able to host your art on a website. It's a little bit more concrete than what we've been doing of just like creating a piece of art, deploying it, but in the past what we've been doing is we've just been using Glitch. So like it updates a new tab and it lives on Glitch's website, which is kind of cool, but if you really get serious with this, you're going to want to host your art on your own website. It says it initialized to Git repository, but I'm not sure it actually did that. So, all right. So it tells us what we need to do right now. So I'm going to cd into P5 with React, and now just to see that we've got it, I'm going to start our server. So what npm start does is it starts our React server locally. It opens up localhost 3000. And then you should see a very simple Create React app getting loaded. Boom, we now have our base Create React app. Okay, but we want it to look more like this website. We want it to actually have some generative art, so let's go ahead and modify this to put a piece of generative art on it. We'll do that by first importing our React P5. So how I got here again, I'll go back to just show you the Google search. I just looked up P5 with React npm, and then you'll see this node package. You can then copy the install link, and we'll head back to the terminal, and we'll stop the running, and now we'll just paste that command, and now we're going to install that package of React P5. Now I'm going to run code./ which is going to open up my VS Code so that I can actually modify the code. Do I have any open? I do. I'm going to close this guy down. Alright. So, let's see. App.js is where we're going to get started. For today, we're just going to host everything on the main website. We're going to keep it very simple, and then tomorrow we can continue to add complexity to it. So just really quickly, I'm going to change this to hello sweets, just to show that over here on my React app, sometimes it doesn't hot load. It's not hot loading because I'm not running it. Nope. I'll run npm start again to restart up the node server, our React server. That'll open up the tab, and now we should see the same page saying hello sweets. Boom, so we've modified it. Next step, let's make this the example. So we're going to come over here, and now we're just going to very simply copy everything that exists here. And I'm going to, and I could just paste it over top, and you know what, to get started, to make it very simple, I am just going to paste everything over top. It's not liking that, so I'm actually going to go back to what I was originally going to try to do. I'm going to create a new folder called art. We'll call it sketches. And inside of sketches, I'm going to make a new file. I think today's day 5, so we're going to call this day5.js. And I'm going to make it with a capital D so that it mirrors what people would expect. And now I'm going to paste everything in here. It still doesn't like what we're doing, so I'm going to change around how we're exporting a little bit. Down at the bottom of the file, I'm going to say export default day 5. And now I'm going to change this declaration to a const day 5 equals, and now we've gotten rid of all of the errors. Now, inside of our app.js, I think within the header I'm going to put this, and I'm just going to make a day, and as I start typing, I get the option to import my day 5, so when I hit return, it imports day 5 up at the top, and now I can just use a self-closing tag, and I can save this. And let's see what our compilation looks like. Drum roll. Okay, it's looking good, so let's head back over to our browser and see how it looks. And now, on our React page, we have the moving ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this page so that instead of this little rotating Create React logo, we're going to have it be our image up top. So day 5, I'm just going to move this child component to replace the logo image. And when I do that, we no longer need the logo import, so I'm going to remove that. And now when I save it, compilation is successful. And now, let's refresh, and we've got our animation up top. Now I really don't like this animation. It stops and it goes off the screen. So we're going to use this noise demo because I've been excited to use it and I haven't used it yet. So let's go ahead and use this noise demo for day 5. And real quick, while that's loading, let's check out what's going on in day 5. We've got a setup function and a draw function, which looks very similar to how we've been doing everything the past couple days. I'm going to fix these tabs because that would annoy me. Alright, so now this is pretty long, but let's break it down into some smaller, let's break down what this code's doing. Included in index.html, this is an alternative to P5js built-in noise function. It provides 4D noise and returns a value from -1 to 1. Okay, it looks like they are importing something called simple noise. So let's see if there's a node package for that. npm simplex noise npm. It's a fast simplex noise implementation in JavaScript. And what's going on inside of our sketch? Simplex noise, it provides 4D noise. Okay, so it looks like they're using the 4D noise, maybe? Let's go back again. They didn't pass anything in. Is there an example where simplex noise, okay, so it looks like they're using the simplex noise. Let's see if we can use this. I might have picked a really hard animation, but let's try it. So again, just like we did before, let's copy the install command. Let's crash our server, paste it, and let's install this package. Hopefully I'm not getting too complex right now. We'll start up our server again. Now we have added our package. We can verify that the package has been added by checking out our package.json. And we can see in here in our dependencies, we now have simplex noise installed. Let's go back to day 5, and now let's import simplex noise. With our import command. So we'll import simplex noise. We'll change this around to say from, delete that, add a semicolon. Let's change this, instead of single quotes, let's make it double quotes just to match how we're doing it in the other imports. So now we've imported our package, and we get this little yellow squiggly line saying that it's declared but it's never used. Okay, so now we just want simplex equals, so now let's try just use what's going on inside of the sketch. So we'll copy everything that's going on before the actual function, and we'll put that right here. Let dragging equal false. All these are not actually being used right now, and now we're using simplex noise, and it looks like we're possibly using this right. Looks like everything is optional. Okay, what's next? Now we want our setup function, create a canvas, and then we want to get our mouse X and mouse Y. Let's modify our setup. I'm going to leave our create canvas to be the same. And now we're going to want to, so inside of here, unlike our glitch where we can just use the P5 library without having to specify, every single P5 command we're using here, we're going to have to specify P5 dot. So we'll say P5 dot. And width doesn't actually exist. So we've got a hard-coded canvas of 500 here, so we're just going to say 500. And I'm actually going to create a new variable up here, const canvas width equals 500, and then a const canvas height equals 500. And now we can change these 500s to canvas width, and then canvas height, and then we can do the same thing down here, canvas width, canvas height. Okay, so now we've done something with this mouse. I'm not sure what that is, but I really just want to see what this looks like. There's a window resize, but I'm not going to worry about implementing that right now, just for simplicity. Now let's change what's going on inside of our draw function. I'm just going to copy everything that's inside of our draw function and move it over. So day 5, we've got our setup. Now inside of our draw, I'm going to paste. And we get a lot of little errors. We'll fix those in a sec. Fix our tabs. Now it's like, hey, what's background? That's never defined. So now we'll just add a P5 before anything that's not defined, such as alert. P5. P5. Okay, so instead of width, it's going to be canvas width. Instead of height, it's going to be canvas height. And then instead of mouse X and mouse Y, it's going to be P5.mouseX, P5.mousey, and instead of width, it's canvas width. Instead of height, it's canvas height. No fill is a P5 command. Stroke is a P5 command. Stroke weight is a P5 command. I believe milliseconds is a P5 command. Draw noise line, P5. Height is canvas height, width is canvas width, height is canvas height. And I'm going to tab this so that it makes sense. Alright, so now we've got our draw function. However, I think we're missing something else. We're missing this draw noise line. I thought it was a P5 library, but it looks like it's a custom defined. It is a custom defined function. So we're going to create a new function. They're calling it as a function. I'm going to make it a const. And now draw noise line, I'm going to remove that so that it's actually calling the function. Now when I control click, we can see that it's referencing it. Begin shape is probably P5. Lerp, I believe I'm assuming that to be P5. 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 Okay, so something's going on down here. It's not liking my P5 is not defined. I wonder where P5 is coming from. We are going to pass in P5, and I think I can just leave it as P5. And now we're going to say P5. So now P5 should be defined. Let's see what we have over on our main website. X is assigned a value but never used. Dragging is assigned but never used. Amplitude and frequency. Let's see where dragging is. Dragging's never used. Is amplitude ever used? It does look like it's used. However, is it used over here? For now, I'm going to ignore these. These are just unused variables, so they're just warnings. They're not errors. Let's fingers crossed see how we're looking. And it looks like, hey, we got our sketch, and it's looking good, and it's interactive. So boom. Let's see if we have any errors when we inspect the page. Console. We just have our unused variables, and they don't seem to be impacting us, so let's just go ahead and delete that. Line 5, line 6, line 8. So we've got line 8, line 5 and 6, and then both of these. Alright. I think our code is now looking good, and it's nice because we're using child components, so our base level is good. We're going to call this Noisy Day 5. And now instead of learn React, I'm gonna end up changing these links later. It is, if I refresh this, we shouldn't have any more errors. Yeah, we're looking good. Okay, so we've got our canvas, and I think this is looking really good, to be honest with you. So we've got a bunch of noise. It's interactive with the mouse. This is a really cool little website. So we've done the first step. We've done our create React app. Next up, let's create a GitHub repository. So if you've never used GitHub before, that's also outside the scope of this tutorial. But go on to GitHub, and I'll show you. So I would go to github.com. If you haven't created an account, you will just create an account. I have already created an account and I'm already signed in. I will go ahead and sign out just to show the overall process. I will sign in. And now I'm gonna just populate my credentials. I'll sign in. And then I'm gonna drop down my profile and click my repositories. At which point I'm gonna click new. And then I would create blockchain art P5 React. That's what I would do. I have already created this repository, so I'm not going to create the repo. But you would just create it. You can make it public or private if you want, and then when you click create, you'll be at the exact same step I'm at over here. So now we want to push our code up to this repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this git init command, and we're going to go through a lot of these steps. I'm going to stop my server from running, and now I'm going to git init ls. Now we have ls-a. We've got this git folder that we didn't have before. What's next? I don't want to add a readme. I'm going to do the git commit -m first commit. I think I can do this on my own. So git status to check what files have been changed. I want to add all of it, so I'll run git add dot git status. Now everything's green. I'll git commit -m initial commit. Now when I run git status, those changes have been committed. I don't like working off of master. I like that GitHub has kind of changed to using the main name instead of master. So we're going to change to using main as our main branch, and now we're on branch main, at which point we can add our new origin, git status. We're now on branch main. Everything's looking good. Now before I deploy, we want to use Firebase to actually set up our pipeline. But you know what? Let's go ahead and deploy this. Let's take this one step at a time. We are now going to run git push origin main. And when I do that, it's going to push all of our code up to the GitHub repository that we just created. So now when I come back to my Brave browser and I refresh, boom, all of our code is now here. This looks exactly the same. If I go into our src folder, we've got our sketches in which we've got our day 5, and then this is all the code that we just wrote, looking pretty as ever. We've now done step 2. Step 1, create React app. We did that. Here's our create React app. We've got our nice little generative art over here. Step 2, create a GitHub repo. We have now created a GitHub repository. Step 2 is done. Step 3, Firebase deploy. If you've never used Firebase before, I highly recommend checking out their website. You can just go to firebase.google.com, or if it doesn't auto-populate for you, you can just search the term Firebase. It's the first result. You can sign in with your existing Google account, so you don't have to create a new account. You can just use your existing Google account. That being said, we're going to be using the Firebase CLI. Get started. Now, I've already installed the Firebase CLI, but for people that have not, install the Firebase CLI. Mac OS, I just run this command. Yeah, I guess you just run this command. Installing Firebase is going to be different depending on your operating system, but just follow what they're telling you to do. Oh, I like to use npm. There we go. This is what I like to use. So they've got this npm install -g Firebase tools. So I'll run that. I can run that, and it's just going to update my Firebase tools, and I think it's going to tell me that I have access denied, because for me, I need to raise my access level to root by making this sudo, but we'll let this run just to see what it does. And it's telling me, hey, e-access permission was denied. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just going to add sudo in front, sudo, which is going to give me root level access once I add my password. You're not going to see anything show up in that password field. Trust me when I say every key pass is being entered. The password is just the password you use to log into your computer. So when you open up your computer and there's a lock screen, whatever password you type in is the password that you use. I'm now updating my version of Firebase. When this is all finished, we're going to check the version of Firebase to make sure that Firebase is installed correctly. I do that by saying Firebase-V. When I run that, it's going to print out that my version of Firebase is 9.16.0, which means I now have the Firebase command line. Now that I have the Firebase command line, and we're inside of our project repository, let's initialize this as a Firebase project with the command firebase init. when I run Firebase init. It then asks, hey, what Firebase services do you want? Firebase is not just hosting. They also have functions, authentication. They've got real-time database. They've got storage, emulators. They've got a ton of different things. We are going to be up. Is this a circular list? Is it just gonna scroll forever? Okay. And I believe we're gonna do hosting, configure files for Firebase hosting, and optionally set up a GitHub action deploys. You hit spacebar to select it, and then the only thing we're going to be doing is hosting. I guess I didn't preface this enough. Firebase is what we're going to use to deploy our website so that we don't have to pay anything to be able to publish our code onto a website. It's free forever. It's awesome. I really have enjoyed using Firebase over the past few years. Now, to get going, I hit enter. Boom. I'm going to create a new project. And what do I want to call it? I'm going to call it Suites Generative Art. And when I hit enter, what would you like to call your project? It defaults to your project ID. I'm just going to hit enter again. And now it's creating our Google Cloud Platform project. And it's doing everything that we need to do, all from the command line. I can just do a little jig. We can hit the whoa and just do whatever we want while we're waiting for all this to get set up. Firebase is awesome. We use it in a lot of our projects. If you're a hacker, like if you like to spin stuff up quickly and try stuff out, Firebase is great. What do you want as your public directory? Because we are using React, it's not default public. We're going to type the word build into here and hit enter. Do you want this to be a single page app? We're going to say yes with the Y character and hit return. Set up automated builds and deploys with GitHub. I'm going to say yes. I do want it to automatically build and deploy with GitHub, so I'll say Y. Now it's going to authenticate Firebase with my GitHub account. I've already authenticated. You might need to click an authorize button. I have already done that. So coming back over here, which GitHub repository would you like to set up your GitHub workflow? I've already configured Git, so it assumes the project that I created. So I'm going to hit enter here. It's retrieving the service account. It does a lot of stuff for me that would usually take me a lot of time. Firebase, the fact that they integrated this was really awesome. Set up a workflow to run a build script before every deploy. I'm going to say yes, and we're going to leave it as the default. npm CI and npm run build. Giving you a quick what this is. npm CI is going to install all of our packages from our package.json, including that noise file, our P5 file, and any other package that we've included. And npm run build takes the code and it makes a production version of it. So I just have to hit return. Set up automated deployment to your site's live channel when a PR is merged. I'm going to say yes. I do want it to trigger on our pull requests as well. What's the name of the GitHub branch associated with your site's live channels? Main is the default. Because we've set it up that way, main is our default, so I'm going to hit return again. We're now set up. We've set up Firebase to be our pipeline, so we won't need to do any manual deploys locally. Everything's going to happen straight from our GitHub continuous integration pipeline. Next step, we're going to run git status to see what's changed. We've now got a GitHub folder, a Firebase SRC, and a firebase.json. You don't need to know what's going on in here, but I'm going to tell you. The firebase.json holds all the information about your Firebase project. Let's take a look at them. We'll collapse our SRC. Firebase.json says stuff like, hey, where is your public directory? And for our case, it's build. Says what to ignore, rewrites, what our destination is. Our SRC says what our project is. This is the project name that we set up and associates this code base with our Firebase project. And our GitHub folder has our they're called GitHub actions, which are continuous integration pipelines. So these are what's going to actually deploy our code to the website. You don't have to worry about what's going on inside of here. Just know that this is what's actually deploying our code to the website. Now that we've talked about what was created, let's actually push up our code so that the continuous integration pipeline can do its stuff. Run git status again. We want to add all of these files, so I'm going to run git add dot git commit dash m I add firebase CI CD pipeline. CI CD is continuous integration, continuous deployment. And now I've made these commits on my main branch, but to show you a little bit more about proper git version controlling, I'm going to run git checkout -b, and I'm going to call this branch dev. And now git status, it's going to tell me I'm on branch dev and there's nothing to commit. I've got a clean working tree. Let's just push up our dev branch. Git push origin dev. And that's going to take all of our changes and it's going to push it back up to our GitHub repository. Now that that's done, let's head over to the GitHub repository. Let's go back to the top level, and then we get this notification, hey, dev had a push less than a minute ago. Great. Let's compare and make a pull request. As of right now, let's check out our Actions tab. We can see over here that nothing's going on. It's suggesting some workflows based off of our JavaScript repository, but there haven't been any actions running. I'm only showing you this to let you see when our continuous integration pipelines actually run. So going back to our pull request that's going on, we're merging from dev into main. I'm going to click create pull request, and with those simple button clicks, we have now, or we should have, just created our first continuous integration pipeline. Let's go back to our Actions tab, and we can see we are now running our first action. We can just go into our checks and expand this to see what's going on. We're running a build and preview, so we've already set up our job, we're checking it out. We're now running that build command that we specified when we set up the project. And this is all happening without us having to do anything. GitHub's just running it. We could totally shut down our computer, and this is still going to get deployed to the website. I'm going to let this run just to make sure everything's set up properly, and then I'm going to merge it into main, which is going to actually deploy it to the production side, because I believe this is going to deploy it to a channel instead of to my live URL. And I'll show you what those differences are, which is a really cool feature of Firebase hosting. They have these things called channels, which in addition to your main URL, it gives you a lot of different channels that you can deploy to, which are good for making changes to your website without affecting the production website. Right now it's deploying, so it's in at the final step. It's built everything, it's installed all of our node packages. It's now deploying it to our Suites Generative Art project ID, and the Firebase service account is confidential, so it's hidden. And it looks like we had a successful deploy, and now in the post checkout, it then gives us a deploy preview link. If we click on this deploy preview, we've now got this link, which is kind of long. Notice that this link has my project in it, but it also has this /PR dev 5 and a bunch of random characters. This is our deploy channel. So it's not our main website, it's a channel, but instead of what we were just looking at before, which is localhost, which is only accessible on my computer, we've now deployed it on an actual website. So if I tweet this out or if I send it to a friend, anyone in the world can visit this website and they can see this and interact with this art that I've just created. But I don't like this domain name. I want it to be simpler. Let's go back to our pull request. Pull request. Where's our pull request? We'll go back to pull request tab. We'll open up our pull request. And let's look at the changes just real quick, just to highlight them. We added our Firebase SRC file. We've added our GitHub pipeline that deploys on the main branch. We've added our GitHub pipeline that deploys on a pull request. And then we also added our firebase.json file. All that looks good. So I'm going to go back to the conversation and I'm going to merge the pull request. When I merge, all of our changes have now been merged into our main branch. So we now have all those files in the main branch in addition to our dev branch. And when we go over to actions, we're now running another action that is deploying our code to the main website. So again, remember that over here we've got these weird characters. Now we're going to be simplifying it such that this domain is going to be what we'll be able to use. For right now, nothing exists there. But in a couple seconds, as soon as this deploy is done, I'll be able to refresh this page and see the exact same code. While this is going on, I'm going to open up Twitter so that as soon as this is done deploying, I can tweet it out and say, check out my generative art. And I can show everyone the generative art. I can show everyone the generative art that I've been making. And I'm just going to go ahead and set up the tweet so that it's not like anything else is going on. It's just doing the deploy behind the scenes. And I'm going to add an emoji of an art palette. And I'm not going to actually send the tweet until it's done deploying, just to make sure that I'm not sending something out that ends up not being right. Looks like we've just finished, so let me refresh the page and see if my hypothesis is correct. Boom, we've now got our noisy up in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm now gonna send my tweet. Let's tweet that. Cool, so now everyone knows if they click on the link, they get redirected to my generative art page. Yeah, so now step 1, create React app. Step 2, create the GitHub repo. Step 3, Firebase deploy. We have just done our Firebase deploy, so now we're on to step 4, minting our NFT. So let's go ahead and mint our NFT. Let's save this image as we're gonna call it day 5 generative art. Save it. Alright, now we've got our generative art saved. Now we want to go and do the same minting process that we were doing in the previous episodes. This is really cool. I like seeing the noise going on the screen. It's nice to be able to make some noisy generative art up in here. Okay, so we have downloaded just a static PNG. This isn't the live art, it's just a static PNG. When we open this up, it's just one still, but this is nice. It's a piece of generative art that was a combination of an algorithm that was running as well as where my mouse was. If I move my mouse anywhere else, it's going to create an entirely new piece of generative art. So it's a combination of me as the artist as well as the code and the algorithm that's running behind the scenes. So now let's go back to minting our NFT. Thank you to this code base. Let's open up a new terminal window. New window. Oh, it changed my colors on me. We'll make this one blue just to... Hey colors, stop messing around. How come I can modify this color, but I want to modify this one's colors? Okay, so we're going to cd into our projects folder, experiments, and then I think we have 100 days of generative art. Cool. Let's code ./ this so that we can open up this code terminal as well, or the code editor, not terminal. We can close a lot of this other stuff. Okay, so now we want to generate our new JSON metadata, and to do that, we're going to head back to Pinata. Let's go to Pinata, and while we're loading that, I'm going to close out of some of these tabs to try to remove some of the tab fatigue that's going on. I closed down my other tab, but I'm I'm going to actually add in the image that I just... Where's my day 5? Day 5. Generative art. Today's piece created with... I wonder if P5js has a hashtag 100 days of generative art. So I'll add that to the tweet stream, the tweet thread, the Twitter thread. And now everybody can see the piece that I was able to create today. We'll go back to Pinata. Let's upload the file. And now let's find our day 5 piece again, and let's add it to IPFS, the Interplanetary File System. How am I doing on time? Doing okay on time. Day 5 generative art. So now we've got a CID. Let's go back to our 100 days of generative code. Let's copy our JSON. Command C, Command V. We're going to rename this to day5.json. We're going to call this one noisy day 5. We're going to name it after I think it's just noise, so where'd you go? And now our image URL, we'll go back to Pinata, we'll get that URL, the CID, and now we'll paste it, save it. Now we've got our metadata file, we've got our IPFS resource, we've got our JSON. Now let's upload our JSON to Pinata. We'll upload our file, click to upload. Now let's see if we can find it. Projects, experiments, 100 days of generative art, artifacts, no, NFT metadata, day 5, boom. Open that up, upload it. Alright, now we've got our day 5 JSON and we have our new CID. This is very familiar with what we've been doing every day. Now the question is, what do I need to do next? I gotta remember, all that we need to do today is mint our script on the mainnet, and we'll just need to change the URI of what it is we're minting. We'll save that. YZVB should be the URL of our day 5 JSON. It is. And then we've got our wallet address. This is the address of the owner, and then the contract address. This is the contract. I'm gonna make sure this is the contract I want. I'm gonna make sure it's the contract I want by going to Polygon scan. This is the production Polygon, not the testnet. Remember, we're playing with the big dogs now. This does look like what I want to be using. So everything's looking good. Let's go ahead and mint our NFT. Let's see if I can remember how to do it. I believe it's npx hardhat run scripts, and now we want the mint script mainnet, and then -- network matic. Let me check our hardhat config. Matic is what we want, and I can delete this. This was just for play yesterday. Alright, let's run it and see if we mint an NFT. Moment of truth, fingers are crossed. Are we actually able to mint this NFT like I think we are? It looks like we did. We'll know for sure by running our other script. I'll delete some of, well, you know what, we'll just start from scratch. npx hardhat run scripts. And now we want to get token script mainnet and I want to make sure our get token script mainnet has been incremented by 1 to 2, so that now we're getting the latest piece of art. I'll send this off to the network-matic, and when I run that, we should now get back our IPFS URL that ends with YZVB. When I check out YZVB, we can confirm that our NFT has now been minted with the correct IPFS address, and when I refresh Polygon scan, we should see a new transaction. We do see a new transaction, and when we check out that transaction, we can see that it was transferred, and when we check it out, where was it sent to? And then here's our ERC721. So we did create a new NFT, and we've now minted an NFT. Awesome work. Last thing we want to do, now that we've minted our NFT, I want to add this information onto the website so that when people visit this website, they can actually click on the URL to see the NFT that was minted, and then they can also click on another link to be able to view the transaction on Polygon. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to go back to our terminals. I'm going to go back to our green terminal, which is our website code. ls, make sure I'm in the right place, npm run start to spin up our React server again so I can see what's going on. And when this loads, we can see this Learn React button isn't really helpful. Like if someone that likes my art comes on here, they really don't care to learn React, but they might want to view it on IPFS. So let's go back to day 5, or I'm sorry, app.js. And now instead of Learn React, we'll make this view on IPFS. And now I'm going to change this to the IPFS URL. So let's go over to Pinata. I don't want people to view the metadata JSON. I want them to view the actual piece of art. So I'm going to click that. And now let's copy this and paste it over here. When we save that, our React app should update. Now what happens when we click view on IPFS? We can see the piece of art on IPFS. That's awesome. Now, in addition to seeing it on IPFS, I want them to be able to view the transaction on Polygon. So I'm going to copy this anchor tag. I'm going to paste it down below, and I'm going to make this view on NFT on Polygon scan. And now let's grab the URL of the transaction. Copy this. We'll put this inside of Polygon scan. We'll save this. And now let's see what it looks like. Now when I click view NFT on Polygon scan, people can actually see my NFT. And they can confirm, okay, this has been created on the blockchain. It's immutable. Nobody can ever change it. Great. So what I want to do now is, it's nice that it's running locally, but if you check out my live website, it's still telling people to learn React. So let's update our production website such that I liked how that was looking. I like that. This is really cool, this whole generative art thing. I'm really glad that we're taking time to publish generative art on the blockchain. Let's go back over here. We'll crash our server. Let's run get status. We've only changed one file, so we'll add that file. Hello. What's going on? Oh, git add src app.js git commit -m. I add the what am I doing? I add the IPFS and polygon scan URL to day 5 to noisy day 5 art piece. Git push origin dev. Now we'll push these changes up to our dev branch. Once those are pushed, we'll go back over to Brave into GitHub. Let's go back to the main place. We'll see that dev now has changes that main does not have. I'll create the pull request, which is going to immediately trigger a build and a deploy to our dev server. I can pretty much assume it's going to work right, and it looks like the changes we made, we changed our URL, we changed what the words say, and then we added another anchor tag linking to polygon scan. So I'll check that saying that we did it. I'll go back to our conversation. I'm going to assume that the deploy is going to work, so now we'll just merge it into main, and now we wait. So now it's going to deploy to main, and I'm going to let everybody know, hey guys, I'm going to tag Polygon so that everyone's aware that I'm using Polygon. I'm also going to tag IPFS so that everyone's aware. Art. And now I'm going to put in the links. Website. Where did Twitter go? And now the art. And I actually could just copy these. How's our deploy going? Looks like we're already done deploying, so let's just refresh this and get the latest links. We'll get the IPFS. We'll paste this in our tweet. NFT. I'm going to put the NFT first because that seems to be the hottest thing. So I'll put that first. I want to make sure I'm grabbing the right link for the NFT, so I'll take that. I'll paste it as the NFT. And now we will tweet this. All right. So to summarize what we've done today, we started off by creating a Create React app. We spun up a nice little website that was a normal Create React app, very simple. We then changed it to add in a piece of generative art. We imported the IPFS, not the IPFS, we imported the P5js library, and we also imported this noisy library to be able to generate our noise. After that, we created a GitHub repo so that we can display this artwork for everybody, and also, mostly just so that we can display the art for everybody. After that, we added in a firebase project with automated deployment such that every time we make a pull request, we deploy to a channel, and whenever we merge with main, it automatically deploys to our web app so that we can share this URL with anybody, anywhere in the world, and then they can view our generative art and they can see our creations. After that, we minted an NFT. We used Polygon to be able to mint the transaction. It cost less than a penny to be able to mint that transaction. It looks like it was like not even a tenth of a penny, it was 100th of a penny to be able to make that work. If we check on Matic or MetaMask, kind of getting distracted, but I just want to see what my balance is of Matic because I had a total of 2 Matic, and I think that's going to take me a long way. Not my test wallet, I want my NFT wallet. Yeah, I still have one. I started off with 2 Matic, and I'm only down to 1.99, and I've posted a smart contract, multiple smart contracts, and I've posted 2 NFTs. Way more affordable than the like $10 to $100 it would take to mint an NFT on Ethereum, posting it onto Matic was much more cost effective for me. And then after that, after we minted the NFT, we then added the IPFS and transaction links onto our website so that anybody that views our website can not only see where the piece of art is hosted on IPFS, but they can also view the NFT on Polygon Scan. So that's everything for today. This was a pretty in-depth lesson. We got a little bit deeper into the code side, and every piece of art we're going to post into the future, we're going to add onto this website so that we're now creating our portfolio on our own turf, on our own domain, so that we can share this with the world and it's not just inside of these little like glitch things that aren't owned by us. And we're, as you saw in previous lessons, we were limited to 2 glitch projects onto my account. It's much better when, one, we don't have to wait for this entire glitch project to spin up. Very quickly, you just refresh the website and then boom, you see the art super quick and you can interact with it. And that's it. If you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I had a lot of fun with this lesson. I hope you did too. Have a great rest of your day.